So genuinely, a lot of people got into wrestling thanks to the WWE video games. I think even Joe Hendry has talked about this in interviews. He was one of them. The individuals behind these games too are obviously crazy passionate about sports entertainment. And because they have the license to do anything they want, well, I'll be honest with you, sometimes they go crazy. That does make it genuinely wonderful though. So hello, I am Simon Miller. Here is 10 times those wrestling games were totally unhinged. Number 10, Matt Hardy takes you to the multiverse. So we start with WWE 2K19, where the story mode put you in the shoes of Buzz, an aspiring pro wrestler who just wanted to get to the top. I mean, it's a time as old as time itself. A tale. I meant a tale. Eventually you do run into Matt Hardy as well, and because you are struggling to deal with Bray Wyatt's mind games, Matt's all like, oh, I can help you, and he takes you into his broken universe, where it just gets really, really strange. Also, bless Matt Hardy's cotton socks, because the voiceover work he does here, he just gives it everything, and he too comes across like an absolute potty person. I mean, you're kind of sort of flying through the sky at one point, as Matt's all like going, oh yeah, it's not that he's Paul Bear or anything. And you'd have to imagine that Hardy himself and the developers sat down to come up with this one. There's no way you could do this without checking with the wrestler first. It really is a little bit unsettling. Number 9, Al Snow's Disembodied Head. WWF Attitude, the game where at the time you thought it was brilliant, then you go back and play it these days and you're like, how did anybody ever get on with it? It makes no sense. Developer Acclaimed had also decided that wrestling games should be like fighting games. So when you were going to do a finisher, you had to put in a combo that was around about 13 buttons long. It was the late 90s though, so everybody wanted to have fun. So one of the unlockable characters was indeed Al Snow's disembodied mannequin head. Now, even though it was made out of plastic, it had a health bar, which was very confusing because it didn't even have arms or legs. But the truly worrying thing is that it had a voice. It would make these noises. It was like watching something from The Exorcist. I mean, it will haunt your dreams. It is so flubbed up. Although don't forget, because of the era, depending on what console you play WWF Attitude, it would give you different options. On the PlayStation, you got real music, but on the N64, you got MIDI themes. And given that within the options menu, you could listen to all the entrance songs, I tell you, that will never be beaten. I used to sit there and listen to Goldust's MIDI theme over and over again. And you may think I'm nuts. Go and check it out, it's great. Number 8, Stevie Richards headlines WrestleMania. WWF No Mercy is widely considered to be the best wrestling game ever. I get it. Now do not forget that the company was hotter than ever, but you won't find much of the Big Show in this thing, because at the time in real life, he was in the doghouse when it came to management, so not only had he been taken off TV, well, he lost his video game royalty check too. Of course, THQ still wanted to replicate the WrestleMania 2000 main event, which had the Big Show in it. So, did they pick Chris Jericho, for example, who at one point was going to be in that thing? No, they just went, let's stick Stevie Richards in there instead. This was right to censor Stevie Richards. What the hell were we doing? Now, nobody seemed to care, but that could be because social media didn't exist. This would be like taking Roman Reigns out of the WrestleMania 39 main event and putting in, I don't know, JD McDonough. People would lose their minds. Still, the thing is, when we are talking about wrestling, this was officially the biggest moment of Stevie Richards' career. Number 7, the Druid Battle Royal. WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 was a funny old game, although it did have the road to WrestleMania, where you'll be surprised to hear you were on the road to WrestleMania. As the story went too, you had finally gotten your opportunity at the show of shows to take on The Undertaker, when Stephanie McMahon walked in and said, great job, you've done it. The screen then started to go all weird though, like you were playing Eternal Darkness or something. And on next week's Raw, when you do get to the arena, everything is all creepy-weepy, and there ain't no human beings, there's just druids everywhere. Then turned out to get to your big match, you had to win a Druid Battle Royal. That's what you did do. You took these Masters of the Deep, and you threw them over the top rope. Once more though, this is the kind of madness that all the video games should embrace. I mean, wrestling is wacky at its heart anyway, but in the world of the digital, you can do whatever the flub you want. Number 6, Kane blows himself up. I mean, he does like fire. This was WWE Crush Hour though, which was basically WWE's version of Twisted Metal, because at this time, developers had gone, oh my gosh, pro wrestling is so popular, we can just throw them into whatever genre we want. This kind of ties into the plot as well, because Vince McMahon had decided he could take his sports entertainers and cast them in anything, which is why Kane was now the host of like Kane's Barbecue Cook-Off. I'm not kidding, he was even wearing a chef's outfit. It also had one cutscene though, where the big red machine lights a stick of dynamite because he accidentally barbecues it, and then yeah, he blows himself up, so I guess he's dead. The best part though is that Jonathan Coachman is on commentary, and he sells this like, No big deal. Someone has just been exploded to smithereens. Who gives a flap? Number 5, Candice Michelle's wand. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It is SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. Look at the image. See, literally, that is Candice Michelle. She has a wand, so now she's some kind of magic person. She also ran riot with this and even knocked John Cena out with a single tap. And man, bless Jim Ross. He is the opposite to Jonathan Coachman that we just talked about. He cannot believe this has happened and he sings his heart out. I mean, that is pretty good because otherwise, what is the point? We even go Freaky Friday here because Candice decides she wants to swap bodies with Viscera, but then everybody is looking at Big Vis going, oh man, you're way more attractive than Candice Michelle. So Candice Michelle switches them back. Don't get mad at me, that's what happens. Once again though, you should be doing this in video games. And as I stand here today, I still remember it. Number 4, wrestlers are zombies. I mean, this isn't totally out of the realm of possibilities either, because do you remember that match at Backlash with The Miz and Damian Priest? They were quite literally fighting the undead. It is back to SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 here though in the Road to WrestleMania mode. Because halfway through, all of a sudden the wrestlers just start turning into zombies. This is because The Undertaker had got mad, and surely that is a sackable offense. And the worst part is that Finn Finley and Santina Marella, they get together and call themselves New School, spelled N-O, because of course Taker had Old School. That's the kind of stuff I would get rid of forever. It's lame. Somewhat interestingly too, when this does happen, the boogeyman starts calling himself The Man, meaning Becky Lynch should get in a time machine and sue his ass. Boogie also murders Kane because he sucks the soul from his body. And to sum this up once again, look at the screenshot. That is Finley as a green zombie. Well, actually, now I look at him, it kind of looks more like John Cena. Number 3, Samoa Joe's bionic arm. Now you would think this was from a game years and years ago. Nope, it's from WWE 2K20. Now many people forget all of this because that game was so bad, we just talked about all the bugs. But it does go down in the story mode when, yep, you run afoul of Samoa Joe. He gets so mad about this, eventually he does pop back up and says, haha, I have been to a secret facility and now look at my limb, I have a robot arm. What? 2K didn't even play this for laughs either, because Samoa Joe just runs around beating everyone with it, but the crowd reacts to it like it's a normal match, which is actually one of my pet peeves with all the wrestling video games out there. Why do we never get good reactions from the crowd? The character you're playing as Trey is still able to beat this Terminator, which begs the question, what was the point to begin with? Number 2, those endings. So we are going back to WrestleMania, the arcade game for this one, and man, this is what I'm talking about. If you don't know as well, this was essentially Mortal Kombat that just had wrestlers thrown into the mix, which meant when The Undertaker did a move, he could fire like ghouls and ghosts out of his hand. I guess you could do that in Street Fighter, so why not here? It also meant that we had to have proper fighting game endings though. Let me tell you this, they were borderline insane. And it was even more crazy because in the mid-90s, the WWF was such a cartoony product. And while you just got a screen of text here, when you were reading it was like, there's no way this is accurate, but I tell you it was. I mean, if you were able to complete it as Yokozuna, he went and wrecked the US economy, whereas Shawn Michaels, well, apparently he just went and had a bunch of sex with a bunch of women in the ring. Razor Ramon also loses his job and opens a pawn shop, but Bam Bam Bigelow's is the worst. He sets fire to the arena, and it is strongly insinuated that the building was full of people, so he's now a murderer. So that one, I don't think was needed, but you can't undo it now. It's been out there for 30 years. Number 1, WrestleMania 19 and death. So I remember this one because it's so old, I rented it from Blockbuster of all things. And even though I was basically a fetus, even I was like, something has definitely gone wrong here. But this was during a time where if you had a different console, you also got a different wrestling game. So on the Nintendo GameCube, THQ must have gone, man, we need a mode that can stand out from the rest. So we came up with this madness. Now it's total BS to begin with, because Stephanie McMahon tells you, oh my gosh, Daddy Vince wants to end WrestleMania for good. So to stop him, you have to go and climb on some buildings and throw the construction workers to their death. Don't get mad at me, that's what you have to do. You also get prompts like 5 workers to go, so you even know when your serial killer marathon does come to a close. I don't really know how else to dress this up. You go to a roof, you grab a human and just go, whoa, and they fall to their demise. Now, of course, what we were doing here is introducing a more arcadey mode to try to appeal to a wider audience. But now that we have had time to digest this, nope, never do this again. Know of any other moments in WWE games where things went unhinged? There are so many. Get in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. And if you would rather move on to a brand new wrestling video with me, Simon Miller, click it on the screen right now. Otherwise, thank you for joining me, my friends. I appreciate all of you. Now, I've done this list. I've been playing video games for way too long. Don't know what that says about me. Not bothered by it. Goodbye.